Hello everyone, Loremaster of Sotek here, and lately I've been musing over a number of things due to the impending arrival of the end times. I have no idea how many times I've watched that glorious announcement trailer, but one thing that sticks out to me still is poor Settra just getting evaporated by Nagash, which is of course in reference to the grand finale of book 1 of the end times. However, contrary to the scene that we see and the admittedly fantastic memes, the story between Nagash and Settra is more complex than it initially appears. The two have fought on at least 2 occasions, though the most notable conflict actually happened when Nagash made his first return, when he first came back from death. Exactly 1,111 years, the sexy 1111, after his destruction when he fell to Alcatazar the Conqueror over in Nagashazar during that whole great ritual incident. Reforming his physical form bit by bit over the centuries within the Black Pyramid, which is over on the outskirts of Kimri, when Nagash re-emerged into the land of the living, or the living dead in this case, he attempted to initially take control of Nehekhara's skeletal legions to just immediately have one of the most powerful undead armies ready to go in a finger snap. One can imagine his surprise when his legendary ancestor, his progenitor, Settra the Imperishable, came forth on his golden chariot of the gods to oppose him. Despite missing several of his artifacts, most notably the Crown of Nagash, or the Crown of Sorcery as it's often called, and his 9 books, the Great Necromancer was still one of the mightiest sorcerers in the known world, and unrivaled in his mastery over control of the dead. Archon the Black and a good number of the Tomb Kings rallied to his banner in the hopes of riding the coming conflict to further their own ambitions. They might not be able to stand up against Settra on their own, or even as a part of a coalition, but with Nagash at the head, maybe. While the Lich Priests and the nature of the Nehekharan undead allowed them to resist Nagash's control, thanks to the protection of their gods, the Great Necromancer was still more than capable of obliterating them with his magic. When Settra arrived himself on the battlefield, though, the situation worsened immediately, as the King of Kings' unrivaled strategic genius saw him quickly gain the upper hand. If Nagash desired to bring his ancient homeland to heel, he would need to crush the Imperishable personally. While Settra could use magic himself, he's always been little better than a novice. He's not good at magic. And those Lich Priests that remained loyal to him were outmatched by the combined power of Nagash and his most faithful servants such as Archon. When the two clashed at the heart of the titanic battle of the undead, Nagash drew upon the winds of magic to smite the Kimrikhara with an overwhelming barrage of eldritch bolts made out of shrieking souls. No titanic construct of stone nor skeletal warrior of old had any hope of survival. Yet to the Lord of Undeath's astonishment, the magic withered and died before it could harm the oncoming golden chariot. Nagash rained down spell after spell, unleashed curses of unspeakable power, yet nothing could halt Settra's furious charge. It all just fizzled. The scarab brooch of Usirian that sat upon Settra's chest blazed with godly power, for the god of the Nehekharan underworld himself was warning the King of Kings against every incantation. Nagash was mighty, but even he stood no chance against the power of a god. The Great Necromancer's frustration only increased when he found himself utterly outmatched in close combat. Despite wielding a horrific blade practically dripping with curses of unmaking, aging, and ruination, the armor of golden magnificence upon Settra's mummified frame resisted each blow and refused to so much as tarnish thanks to the divine might of Joff, the Nehekaran god of death, flowing through it. Nagash could no longer deny the truth. Settra was indeed imperishable, and no power at the great necromancer's command could hope to deny Nehekara's one true lord. Humbled by the gods he had once forsaken, Nagash fled the field along with Archon the Black, using his undead legions and the traitor Tomb Kings to bog down Settra and his legions, so the great necromancer could make his escape. With his pride wounded, Nagash retreated to Nagashazar in the mountains and schemed about how to overcome such a seemingly invulnerable foe, which, fun fact, would take him another 2,500 years to pull off. While a fun tale, I'm sure you all already know why I told you this little story. While I am beyond excited for the arrival of Nagash and his undead legions, the stage for his iconic showdown with Settra the Imperishable is not quite ready yet. You see, for some reason that honestly eludes me. When the Rise of the Tomb Kings DLC emerged from the desert sands to grace our campaigns in Total War Warhammer 2, Settra showed up with 2 items missing. The first and most important of these is the Scarab Brooch of Usirian, the iconic unique talisman that featured as the critical MacGuffin for why he was able to curb stomp Nagash in every battle up until the end times. During the opening years of the apocalypse, the entire storyline of Nagash revolved around him building up enough power to neutralize the Scarab Brooch. Otherwise, he would be cut down by the first Priest King. This led to a whole crazy story that concludes with Nagash quite literally killing and devouring the god Usirian himself in order to attain godlike power and, more importantly, render the Scarab Brooch inert. That's why when we get that famous scene of Nagash bearing down upon Settra, Settra is overwhelmed by Nagash's magic, and Nagash is able to just basically pick him up and just crush him with sorcery. Is that with the Scarab Brooch no longer functioning, Settra lost his magical defenses and he was vulnerable. In regards to tabletop, the Scarab Brooch was essential to Settra's toolkit, as it granted him a 4+ ward save and magic resistance. Yet, despite its importance to his tabletop profile and lore, the talisman sadly didn't arrive in Total War. It didn't make the trip. I would say it is long past time to rectify this particular mistake. The second item I want to talk about isn't technically as important, but I think it should still be added to the game to grant Settra his full toolkit that he bore in the lore and allow him to be everyone's favorite desiccated corpse. Back in 6th edition fantasy, Settra had a unique set of magical armor called the Golden Armor of Magnificence. The lore note for this reads as follows. Settra wears a suit of age-old kingly armor that was said to have been crafted and worn by the jackal god, Joff, when he walked the land. It is impervious to the ravages of time, and nothing can tarnish the shining gold armor. Rules-wise, this was a frankly terrifying item that granted Settra the best effective armor save you could have of a 2+, but also had a unique rule that it could only be reduced to a 4+, even if wounded by an attack that states it ignores armor. That means contender for top narcissist could be shot point blank with a cannonball at Mach fuck you and has the same chance of tanking that as a full-plated Chaos Warrior would against the stab of a Skaven slave's little rusty dagger. That is to be frank, Settra's 6th edition profile was so goddamn scary. He got nerfed hard going into 8th edition, but whatever. If both of these items were added into Total War Warhammer, that would have Settra be one of the few characters wielding a sexy 4 unique items. Plus, these items go into slots that he currently has empty, as the only 2 he has being the Setrid Blade of Pthra, which is a magic weapon, and the Crown of Nehekara, which is a enchanted item. So we should ask for the Golden Armor of Magnificence to be placed for his armor slot, and the Scarab Brooch of Usirian for his talisman slot. They'd both be great items that Settra can just start his campaign with, or get simply very simple, straightforward quests for at relatively low levels. You know, something where it could be like, to get the Golden Armor of Magnificence, unite your starting province. Or to get the Scarab Brooch of Usirian, kill 500 enemies or 1,000 enemies or whatever. You know, go defeat somebody. Something simple that you could do in like the first 10 to 20 turns. I'm sure Creative Assembly can come up with all the specifics of how the items would work, and they'll likely be campaign exclusive to not mess with Settra's multiplayer performance, as to my understanding he already performs exceptionally well. So I don't think he would need to be like buffed. I do hope though at minimum that we can finally get just like a 20% passive ward save for the Settra's Scarab Brooch on campaign, so he'll be properly durable when facing down the likes of Scarbrand, Nagash, and whatever nightmares are coming down the chute with the end times. Anyway, I hope this can get some traction going on this particular subject, but please do consider making a thread on the forums or the subreddit or wherever if you're so inclined. I would really appreciate it, or like the Total War Discord or wherever it may be. And if you do, please feel to use this video if it helps at all. Yeah. Oh, on the way out, I also want to mention, please, Creative Assembly, please, I beg of you, I'm on my knees. You can't see it, but I swear I'm on my knees right now. Can we swap the Confederation requirements for Settra when it comes to Khalida and Katep? Please. It makes no sense. Why is Khalida confederated through the mortuary cult mechanic rather than Katep? It doesn't make sense from a lore or a gameplay perspective. Khalida's right there. She's right down the street. She's in ass-kicking distance. She should be the you have to go over there and beat her up character for Settra. It makes sense. That's how Settra dealt with her in the lore. Whenever he had to deal with Khalida, he went over there. We would go through the Valley of Kings and say, Khalida, you need to listen to me. And she'd be like, okay, whatever. And she would bow her head to him. That makes sense for the Confederation. It should work like it does in the lore, where Settra has to go over there and get her ass in line, and that's how you confederate. And then Katep, who has been exiled, should be called back by Settra if you're gonna confederate him. Like, if you know, we all know that he's not supposed to return to Nehekara on pain of death, but it's very specific, actually. Settra only banished Katep from Khemri. He didn't banish him from all of Nehekara. He only exiled him from Khemri. So Katep is allowed to be in Nehekara. He's allowed to work for Settra. Settra's annoyed with him, but the idea that Settra like, oh, I won't call him back unless I'm doing it through war. Dumb. It's dumb. Come on, it's dumb. We all know it's dumb, right? So like, can we just make it where Katep you confederate through the mortuary cult system, and then Khalida you confederate by going over there and kicking the crap out of her, as it should be. That's the lore accurate way, and it makes the most sense gameplay wise. Like I said, Khalida's right there. Katep's across the freaking world. Come on, please, I beg, please, I beg. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Last thing, if you're interested, over on Lorebeards, the Lorebeards channel, which if you don't know, which you very well might not, you may remember that I used to do a show here on the channel with Andy like every other week, where we would talk about cool subjects about Warhammer Fantasy lore, and a lot of y'all seem to enjoy it. A lot of y'all seem to really love it. We would go into like the nitty-gritty about like the IRL history behind things, and then the in-universe history, and we talk about theories and a bunch of other stuff. But so that's on its own unique channel. In case you haven't heard, we have a Lorebeards YouTube channel, which is purely about Lorebeards. We even have some other shows about like roleplay and 40k and stuff, but a brand new video format, which we've never done videos. We've only done live streams, but we're making videos now. It's called Lorebeards Trimmed, because you know, you like trim your beard and whatever. And basically we're trying to take some of our best episodes and condense them down from the 3-hour format to just the juicy lore and just the best parts of the live stream. So we cut out all the super chats, we cut out all the interruptions, we cut out all the like awkward starting and stopping, we cut out any of the like random tangents that have nothing to do with the subject matter, and just condensed it down into just pure distilled squeezed lore. And it even has like graphics and source material, and like a lot of the editor put a lot of amazing work into it. And I would really appreciate it if you would consider giving a watch. I'll have it somewhere here on screen that you can click on, and I'll also have it linked down below as the top pinned comment. I would really appreciate if you consider giving it a watch. But anyway, hope you all have a great morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you may be in the world. Take care.